As you can see from New York City, we have I'm always immodest, a fantastic show for you this evening. What'll prove the most powerful force in the midterms? Bob Mueller or the economy? Two top pollsters join us with information you will not get anywhere else. And a House candidate, check this out. This happened last night at midnight, okay, that I got word of this. Calls First Lady Melania Trump a name so repulsive, so vile, that House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy wants him banned from Twitter. Leader McCarthy will speak with us exclusively tonight about that and a lot of other topics. Plus, why is one of the NFL's most prominent owners suddenly going silent about the national anthem protests? He's being shushed. Raymond Arroyo will be looking for answers in a special Tuesday appearance on the show. But first, how to win the midterms. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, you probably heard this, that traditionally parties in power lose seats in the midterm elections. According to the latest Quinnipiac poll, there are some troubling signs for Republicans, but all is not lost. But check this out. It's important that you understand what's at stake. Among independents, a group that Trump won by 4 points in 2016, Republicans face a 17-point deficit as of now versus the Democrats. Among white women, a group Trump won by 9 points in 2016, they are now preferring Democratic candidates by a 14-point margin. And among voters 65 and older, they prefer Dems by a 14-point margin. Now, look, there's no doubt that the left is energized and they're craving for power. But if the Democratic Party gains majorities in either house of Congress, what are they going to do? Well, they'll try to reverse all of Trump's progress and destroy one incredible economic recovery. Industries will be decimated, jobs will be lost. Of course, the other obvious danger, should the Democrats win, a House majority, well, what will that be? Well, that sounds a little bit like this.
I rise today, Mr. Speaker, to call for the impeachment of the President of the United States of America.
I would support impeachment. I think that, we have the grounds to do it.
Let's impeach 45! Impeach 45!
Someone tell her that doesn't rhyme, by the way. But do we want that rogues gallery running the government, controlling federal spending, and stymieing the president at every turn? But let's remember, should Nancy Pelosi repossess that speaker's gavel, you can bet that she will mire the country in endless investigations of the Trump administration and plunge us into a daily impeachment drama. There's no doubt about it. Well, tonight I have 4 recommendations to keep all of this from happening. Number 1, the Republicans should be out day in and day out selling the Trump economy. Go across your districts and remind people that for his administration, it's promises made, promises kept, and the Republican Congress helped them along the way. The president promised you peace and prosperity, and that's what he delivered. He promised to hold China accountable, make NATO countries pay their fair share, renegotiate NAFTA, and that's what he's doing. Republicans promised to cut taxes and roll back onerous job-killing regulations. And they did that, too. Now, this is why the Democrats keep talking about other issues. They're talking about things like Mueller or Michael Cohen or Stormy or Michael Avenatti. Why do Democrats do that? Because they have zero answers to Trump's success. They have no alternative except to go to these tangential, unimportant issues. Now, the president, because he gets how to tell a story, he understands the value of touting the economy, as he did tonight in Florida.
We're setting records like never before. Since the election, we have added 3.7 million new jobs. We're in the longest positive job growth streak in history. The African-American unemployment rate has reached the lowest level in history. Sorry about this, women, but the unemployment rate has reached the lowest level in only 65 years. It'll be history.
That was great. And I think about a lot of things when I think about old flashback sound, but it really makes me smile, given everything that's happened on the economic front, to look back on what Barack Obama said about Trump back in 2016. Do any of you recall this?
When somebody says, like the person you just mentioned, who I'm not going to advertise for, that he's going to bring all these jobs back. Well, how exactly are you going to do that? He just says, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Well, how exactly are you going to negotiate that? What magic wand do you have? And usually the answer is he doesn't have an answer.
Okay, well, he's got something. I don't know if it's a magic wand. Maybe it's just great policies. Let's face it, due to Trump's agenda, we have record low unemployment and the best job market in decades. And by the way, we have 375,000 manufacturing jobs that did come back to the United States, President Obama. According to MarketWatch today, wage and benefits are rising at the fastest pace in a decade. The employment cost index rose 0.6% in the second quarter, a tick below the MarketWatch estimate of 0.7%. More important, the cost of worker compensation in the form of pay and benefits edged up 2.8% to mark the biggest yearly gain since mid-2008. In other words, workers are making out better. You bet. The argument for every Republican candidate goes something like this. If you want to keep this economy going, if you want to keep this job market thriving, see your investment accounts growing, vote Republican. Number two, way to avoid impeachment and keep the midterm elections in Republicans' grips, educate voters on what the Democrats have become. The Democrats, let's face it, have gone totally nuts. You know, they now want to abolish ICE. They believe people should not be able to use things like normal gender pronouns. That's offensive to Democrats. They prefer that, I guess, we go to war with Russia rather than supporting Trump's diplomatic overtures to Russia. They want sanctuary cities from sea to shining sea. One guy even wrote a column today, a Democrat, about how we should have just no borders at all. At least they're honest. Now, they have a worldview where illegal immigrants are protected while our citizens become an afterthought. So on the campaign trail, emphasize how the Democrats are on the margin. They're the fringe. They're the radicals. They threaten individual liberty. Now, this is the party now of regulation and speech codes. It's a party that is intolerant of any view but their own. They want to turn our entire country into like one big college campus where every expression is controlled by them. Number three, argue that life under Democrat congressional rule is merely going to mean the nation will be locked into 2 years of relitigating the 2016 election. In other words, any real hope of solving our immigration, our spending, our entitlement, or our infrastructure problems, poof, it's all going to evaporate. With this economy roaring, right now we can actually focus on those things because of Trump and his big victory, we're finally out of the post-9/11 crisis mentality. Remember, it wasn't so long ago that we were either mired in the Middle East or dealing with fallout from the housing bubble, the financial crisis, or essentially just allowing China to dominate us with impunity. But thanks to Trump, we can now as a nation have a real conversation, and a debate would be nice, about the role that the United States will play in a world where the limits of globalization have frankly become pretty obvious. But let's not forget, the Democrats are loath to even begin considering that. They don't want to debate. They want to personalize, demonize, isolate Trump from his base. The fourth way to win in the midterms and avoid impeachment, be happy warriors. Have fun on the campaign trail. It is a great time to be an American. I can't think of a better time, frankly, in my lifetime in this economy than right now. All you kids out there watching, these are the good old days. Because of the efforts of Republicans and this White House, more Americans will be able to pursue happiness. It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Sometimes we forget the latter part. People can realize their dreams. Trump was having that fun tonight and telling those stories.
I was shaking hands with policemen in New York City, and the first one came up to me and said, "Mr. President, I want to thank you so much." I said, "What did I do?" He said, "My 401k is up 44%, and my wife thinks I'm, for the first time, a financial genius. She's giving him all the credit." She said, "Darling, I love you so much." And he said, "Yes, I'm a great financial wizard."
Oh, the audience was laughing and having fun. That's what politics at its best is all about: making people's lives better, connecting with the electorate, personalizing the narrative. And that's what the president did tonight. He's out explaining why his policies are working, highlighting the results and the benefits for particular regions of the country. I hope he goes to places, by the way, that he lost in the general election or where the vote was kind of close. Don't be deterred by the protesters or the resistance mentality from traveling to places like California, Illinois, Colorado, and go back to Wisconsin, go to Michigan. To win over independent voters and even some Democrats, the president and the Republicans have to take the wind out of the resistance sails. This is best done by focusing on your results and offering more solutions without the histrionics or the side issues that will just be used to caricature you later on. And finally, if the president wants to do something in Congress before the midterms, hey, I would push for a middle-class tax cut. I know they're considering another capital gains tax cut, but how about another middle-class tax cut? Make what you already passed and is working permanent and expand the cuts you already have in place. That puts the Democrats totally on the defensive and on the spot. That means they're going to have to vote against their own constituents' economic well-being. That's a great idea. And while we're on midterm strategy, there was something the president said tonight about the wall and his desire for the wall that caught my attention.
We're going to have tremendous border security that will include the wall. We've started large portions of the wall, but we're going to need, even the way we negotiate, we're going to need more, and we're going to get more, and we may have to do some pretty drastic things, but we're going to get it.
All right, well, I hope by drastic things, he's not referring to a government shutdown. Now, I know a lot of you conservatives are like, yeah, government shutdown, and I get it. It's tantalizing. It's like the skeleton crew is working the government and it functions just fine for a time being. And it might actually force Congress to fund the wall before the midterms, although I'm not sure that would actually happen, as a political strategy. And I'm talking about winning in November to prevent the impeachment of this president. I think it's really risky. It's really risky. Why is it risky? Because with suburban women, with the independent voters, that's not really where they are. Results matter. Making their lives better matter. I'm with the president on the wall 100%, but if you're going to take a risky gamble on shutting down the government, the time to do that was last March when the whole omnibus spending bill debate was going on, right? That's when the president had the good instinct. It was in the morning he voted on it. The good instinct to veto it. Well, the Republicans made him change his mind on that, and he didn't veto it. But that was the time to take the stand. Now it's too close to the election, the midterm election. And plus, you know what I think would also do? It would convey a sense of chaos. And that's not what those independent voters want to see. They want a happy warrior president. They want the economic successes touted. They want to know who the Democrats really are. They want it steady as she goes. So, Mr. President, keep the focus on the economy like you did tonight, and your party cannot lose. Remind voters that without a GOP Congress, your booming economy is sure to unravel. And then when it does unravel, it's going to give way to daily impeachment warfare on Capitol Hill. And as for you Republicans who still don't really fully embrace the president's record, I got to say this, frankly, you don't deserve to win. But for the rest of you, make these midterms just the start of something phenomenal. And that's the angle. Joining me now for reaction is John Summers, a Democrat and a former communications director for former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, and Dan Bongino, an NRA TV contributor and author of the forthcoming book, Spygate, The Attempted Sabotage of Donald J. Trump. Great to see both of you. All right, John, take it away. Where do you think I went wrong with my 4 steps to holding the House and holding the Senate and avoiding impeachment?
Well, you had a lot of stuff in there, but you also had some things that I don't disagree with. I think when we talk about what the president needs to do, first of all, he's got to improve his approval ratings. They're abysmal right now. In fact, his approval ratings are currently lower than Richard Nixon's were at this point in his presidency. So he's got to take some steps to improve his approval rating. I'd love to see the Happy Warrior tweet overnight. It would be a welcome change, I think, for all of us.
He was having fun tonight, though, John.
John,
he was having fun tonight. Did you watch the rally? I thought he was having a great time.
He was having a great time in front of his base, but the base isn't what he's going to need to win. It's great that he's got, I believe it's 88% approval rating among his base, but that's not going to win over, as you were saying, independents and other people. So what he's got to do is he's got to go back, and Republicans need to do this, and Democrats need to do it. We all need to be focusing on the people the hardworking families who elected Trump into office. And that's where he's lost sight. And one way he can do that, for example, is to provide farmers relief from this terrible trade war that he started. They're
terrible
begging
trade
for
war
it.
that's working.
Republican members of Congress are begging for relief.
Of course they are, because
So
they're used to the big money from their big lobbying organizations that want to keep the globalists going. I got to get Dan Bongino in. Dan, you know the drill. I've got to play for this for you. These were some of the predictions for the November elections coming up that we've been hearing on TV from the usual suspects. Let's watch.
Right. You see the makings of a Democratic majority.
The Democrats have to win 21 seats to take control. I think it's better than even chance at this point that's going to happen.
So there's definitely a blue wave coming, and we got to get ready for it and stop lying to ourselves.
You're plugged into a lot of Republicans. What are they saying? What are they really saying behind the scenes?
They're saying get off the beach.
Okay, Dan, first of all, most of those people hate Trump, were wrong about the election in 2016, but now they're giving all the advice to Republicans. Your reaction to all this?
Yeah, Laura, these are the same people who printed in the Washington Post that Trump had an approximately 0% chance of winning. I'm not making that up. That was an actual headline. I think it was Chris Cillizza was on one of the bylines on that. I mean, why would you write something so absurd? He obviously didn't have a 0% chance of winning. It speaks more to your animosity towards the person than it does your political acumen. Now, I just wanted to address something John said, though. I'm always kind of weirded out by this when they say, well, Trump should focus more on the middle class, when he just was responsible largely for a tax cut that is filtered down through the middle class, and now we're seeing the numbers. You know, I get this a lot when I debate with Democrats. They try to prod you with emotion, but they lose all of the facts and data. We just had the employment cost index, 2.8%. Barack Obama hovered around 2.2% his entire time. He's at 2.8. Trump's only been in office 2 years. We've just seen an explosive growth, even in income tax revenue towards the government. We've seen 4.1% GDP, recovering from 8 disastrous years of Barack Obama. I think the middle class gets Donald Trump, and I think, John, although I respect your analysis, I think you're way off there. If anybody's in touch with the middle class, it's Trump.
His approval rating would be way higher than it is. So you're wrong. That's an important data point for you. Another important data point for you is the fact that those middle-class tax cuts that you're talking about, yeah, some of them do trickle down to the middle class, but the majority of those tax cuts actually benefit
Yeah, because those are the
wealthy
people who pay all the taxes,
and then let's
John.
talk about the $100 billion tax cut he's pushing for today.
Yeah.
For rich people.
Well, for everyone who has investments, right? I mean, how many people are invested in this stock market? If you're smart, you're invested in the stock market. Most people with any expendable income are invested in the market. But on the middle class guys, I think it's really important for the Republicans to take the high road here. I'd go for another middle class tax cut. Dan Bongino, do you agree with me? I'd push the Democrats on that. I'd cut even further for those families under $100,000 income with 3 or 4 kids. I'd cut them even further. Let the Democrats veto that or not or oppose that.
Democrats would support a middle class tax cut, not another tax cut for the extremely wealthy.
Well, good. That'll be a win-win for the country. Dan.
Laura, I agree with you. I'd like to see a 5 or 6 percentage point cut in the middle brackets that would affect middle class married families, no doubt about it. But notice how John spins it again. They do this all the time. They say, well, it'll trickle down to the middle class. No, the middle class got an actual tax cut. I don't know if you're unfamiliar
they have like $2,000
with
more in their pocket now.
I don't know if you're unfamiliar with how the tax cut worked. Maybe you should check out the data on the percentage point tax cut.
All right, guys,
we're
out of time.
Laura,
yeah, we're out of time, but I will say this. The president gets about 55% approval on the economy. We will see. A lot more to get to. Ron DeSantis up next. Big rally tonight. What happened behind the scenes? We'll tell you. Don't go away.
We live in a new world. We fight new wars. People sleep peacefully because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. If we fail, there is no.
Republicans have to do a much better job. And then there's one more thing.
5 steps ahead of you on that.
That investigation has carried on.
Wrapping up. But will the surging economy sweep the investigation to the side of the
family? That's very important to both of us, and we wanted to let voters know about that, but we wanted to do it in a way that's just not the typical cookie-cutter ad that no one pays attention to. So people who are getting upset about it, they have no sense of humor, and I think some people, it's just like the Trump derangement syndrome is so sets in so much that they just lose the ability to reason and have a laugh at some of this stuff.
Well, first of all, Congressman, you know, I think your wife should run in the future, so I'm already 5 steps ahead of you on that.
She gave a heck of a speech tonight in the warm-up, Laura. Heck of a speech.
I already heard about it. Congressman, congrats. Great night tonight. We really appreciate it. And the final sprint to the midterms is on. With 98 days to go, can you believe it? A critical question looms. How will Bob Mueller and the Russia probe impact voters, if at all? There's no sign of it wrapping up, but will the surging economy sweep the investigation to the side of the ballot box? Joining us now, the polling gurus, Frank Luntz and Doug Schoen. Great to be with you in New York.
Great to be with you.
How much fun. Doug Schoen,
yes.
your reaction, you heard the angle tonight.
I did.
My four pieces of advice on how to avoid impeachment, win the midterms. Thoughts?
Well, as a Democrat and as a conservative centrist Democrat, I sort of wish you'd keep your opinions to yourself.
Okay,
because
good.
The rant was exactly right. Running on the economy, a middle-class tax cut is the pro-growth message that the Republicans need. If they get distracted shutting down the government over immigration, that's a stone-cold loser. You asked about the Mueller investigation. Trump's numbers have gone up. The Republican numbers have gone up as that investigation has carried on. So I don't think that issue, frankly, is going to be relevant unless and until something demonstrative and definitive happens, which shows no signs of happening before the election. Could change, but as we sit here today, I think the Democratic advantage has as much to do with 40 open Republican seats, which are either open or retirements, than it does with any groundswell for the party.
Frank.
It's a simple question. Are you better off today than you were 2 years ago? And so many Americans are, and the country is.
So why are these numbers with independent suburban women? You talked about it 2 weeks ago on the show. You put up the warning flag. And I know it's easy for Republicans to say, well, the pollsters were wrong last time. You can discount the pollsters. I think you do that at your own disadvantage this time around because the resistance is so powerful. They're mad that they were wrong last time, and they want to prove themselves right this time.
I agree with you 100%. And the problem is that some of the language is ineffective, that the words that they're using and the way that they're presenting it doesn't work with women. And there is a backlash because of exactly what you said. Middle class, middle income, middle America women, Republicans have to do a much better job. And then there's one more thing. I actually think that it's not enough for them to say, hey, we got a 4.1% growth rate, because nobody understands what that is.
Personalize the stories, correct?
Are you personalize it? And I want you to look 2 years ahead from now. What will America be like with Speaker Nancy Pelosi? I think they actually have to use her in the campaign.
Yeah, you undo the gains that we've made in the last 2 years. Separate what you don't like about Trump's tweets, or undo it all. And then how are you doing? There's a new poll out, by the way, the Harris Hill poll that came out just an hour ago or so about Mueller. Going back to your point, they believe the bias has hurt Trump. The Mueller where the FBI handled the investigations, and so that demonstrates it again that people don't think this process is fair. I don't think it ultimately has much of an impact in the November election.
I agree with you. I don't think it will. But Frank's point is an important one, and it's one of the reasons why I think the Democrats have a better than 50% chance to win the House. Women, suburban white voters, middle-class voters in both coasts are really reacting to the rhetoric of the Republicans, not the rhetoric.
Because when they go to their, country clubs, or we're talking about suburban women, country clubs, or they hang out at the coffee, have coffee with their friends. Is it this that they're embarrassed? They feel embarrassed to say they support Trump's results? Do they want to feel that there's a way for them to support Trump because he shows empathy or compassion on an issue? Oh, well, yeah, but he's good on this. How does he message that, Frank? You're the message guru.
You stay on the tax cuts. You stay on the jobs report. You stay on everything that is economically based, because in the end, that matters more to them. There will be some people who will vote based on Donald Trump. This election, you win or lose based on whether they think their income level will be better 2 years from now than it is today.
That story Trump told at the rally tonight, my 401k firefighter in New York, up 42%, 44%. That was smart. Okay, I want to do a whole hour with you guys. Can we please? I guess we can't. We're going to go black if we do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The president using sports to divide Americans? Why is Ruth Bader Ginsburg groupies rejoicing? A lot more to get to. Arroyo next.